Are you looking for an easy way to invest for your child's future education through an RESP here in Canada and are wondering how to start? Well, in this video, I'm going to be covering that and sharing how my 7 months old daughter has already received over $200 in dividend income and how their RESP account is already over $21,000 in value size. Welcome to Momentum Finance channel, everybody. My name is Mo, and for those of you who are not familiar, on our channel, we talk about investing passively through the power of exchange traded funds and investing for future with the aim of reaching financial independence for our household, as well as easy ways that others can also pursue such journey. For my wife and I, we had our baby born about 7 months ago, and ever since she was born, right away we started opening an RESP account. It is a registered education savings plan, and for those of you who may not be familiar, here in Canada we have the option of opening this RESP account, and by funding this account, there are some matches that are provided through the government of Canada. This is a great way to get started for your child's future educational pursuit that they have. All right, here it is, the portfolio that my daughter has, her RESP account, registered education savings plan, currently sitting at over $21,000 in portfolio size. Of this amount, 19,000 of it has been actually deposited by my wife and I into this account over the past 7 months or so. We deposited a total of $16,500 last year and then received the $500 maximum CESG or Canada Education Savings Grant from Government of Canada. This year, early in the year, we deposited another $2,500, and so far we haven't not yet received the $500, the CESG maximum, and we believe it's going to be received by the end of January, or if not, within the month of February, at which point we will then deploy the same funds to buy more shares of the ETF that we have for our daughter. The reason that net deposit shows as 19,500 is because it takes into account the $500 that we have received so far from the government for the year 2024. Let me quickly show you what funds we are invested in. For our daughter, we decided we are going to keep things simple. For those of you who are familiar with my investment approach and my household's investment approach, you know that I like things to be simple and on autopilot. Majority of our funds for our own household is invested in one fund here in Canada. It is considered to be an all-in-one single ETF that has multiple other ETFs as its underlying holdings. It's called XEQT, or iShares Core Equity ETF portfolio. Currently, our daughter has 623 shares of this fund, and with an average purchase price of $31.60 roughly. You can see that the fund has overall returned 7.68% for her. So for her funds have returned 7.7%. I did mention that our daughter so far has received over $200 in dividend income, and you can see, to be more exact, closer to that $219 point. All of these dividend amounts have been reinvested back in to buy more shares of XEQT for our daughter. Our plan is, once she receives the $500 from the government of Canada for this year for her CESG, we'll use that to buy more shares of XEQT. And similarly, as she continues to receive quarterly dividends from XEQT, they're going to be all reinvested back into shares of XEQT for her. Why we started to actually put in a large lump sum amount in her RESP account at the time. This is basically based on a strategy that we got to know about from this article from Manulife, RESP savings strategies, lump sum or periodic. And I want to acknowledge, before I get into this article, which I will include the link in the description of the video if you're interested, not everybody may be in a position to be able to kind of exactly do the lump sum approach that we did. We feel very fortunate and grateful for having had that opportunity. But nonetheless, I'm sharing this strategy because some of you may be in that position, and if you are, this may be a worthwhile approach for you to pursue. And even if you missed the mark, let's say in the first year, you still have an option to catch up. So let's say you right now, maybe, or in a year from today, you might have large amount of money available to you. You could still follow this approach at a later point in time. Obviously, the sooner you start this approach, the better lifetime rewards for it, because you have the power of compounding over time. But it is nonetheless a strategy that could be applied at different points in time. Some kind of key consideration. The first point is, you have to remember that the lifetime amount that you can contribute to an RESP account is $50,000. You cannot put more than $50,000 per beneficiary into RESP. And then on top of that, assuming you are depositing this amount into your account in a strategic way, you can get up to a maximum of $7,200 Canada Education Savings Grant. This is the amount paid by the government of Canada as a grant, and can be kind of capitalized on for to build a larger amount portfolio size for your child's RESP account. It is paid at the rate of 20% of your contribution for the maximum amount of $500 per year. So in other words, if you were to typically wanting to get that $500 per year, you could have easily tried to contribute $2,500 per year, and that's an approach that most people possibly take. Contribute 2,500 and then get $500 kind of a CESG from government, and then that year after year they pursue this approach until to get to that maximum amount of $50,000. Now, the consideration that you might have, you might wanna approach it consider two other approaches. The first one being lump sum amount of $50,000 all in. So let's say if you had the $50,000 available, you could deposit that entire amount in that first year. Obviously, in that first year, you would get that $500 maximum CESG from government, but from there onward, you cannot deposit any single more even cents into your account because you've maxed out already the maximum lifetime amount, and government is not going to be paying any match because you're not going to be depositing anymore. What would that scenario turn out to be in, let's say, several years? So we're going to look into that through this article. And second option, which is for the most part what we've done, is in the first year deposit $16,500 and then subsequently just deposit that $2,500 until for the last year, which is, I believe, year 15, you're going to get so close to that maxing that $50,000 in that year 15. In this approach, you only deposit the $1,000. So here is the some assumption and the outcome of that. The assumption is that your rate of return is going to be at a modest 6%. And the taxable portion of your return for non-registered is 20%, and the tax rate on investment income is 25%. Some assumption there for you. The main reason these, especially taxable references, are here is that in option 2, it is recommending that is thinking that you still have that $50,000 available to you, but rather than putting it entirely in RESP, you just take the $16,500 and deposit into your RESP, and the remaining you put it in a non-registered account for and let that actually grow and still invest. And in the subsequent year you kind of take out some money from that amount, $2,500, in other words, from between year 2 to 14, to then use that towards the RESP deposit. So you don't have to again use any outsider money. You just use the same amount from that initial chunk that you put it in a non-registered account. For us, what we did, we actually use option 2, but in almost like a hybrid approach to this. For option, in a sense that, for example, for this year, we did not really sell anything from our non-registered account that we have already to try to use that to put the money in our RESP account for our daughter. Instead, we just use some savings that we have on the side to deposit funds into our RESP account. And probably that's what we would do. We don't necessarily need it to sell our investments in a non-registered account and kind of trigger any capital gain tax or whatnot from that regards. Again, acknowledging that this kind of a position that we are in, we are able to do that. Not everybody might be. Nonetheless, the outcome for these two scenarios, assuming we go with the assumptions here, at the end, at the year 18, that's when probably your child may need the money to start considering to go to college or university. In option 1, that $50,000 based on that 6% growth compounded would grow into $144,144. The option 2, the $16,500 initial plus the $500 from government, would grow into $125,844. Obviously, it's smaller because the compounded amount is for a smaller starting amount. But remember, your non-registered account was growing on the side too. You were only touching it to every year to kind of take back that $2,500 for year 2 to 14, and then only $1,000 for year 15. If you add them up in total, in option 2, you're ending up in a much larger position at $155,661, which is why we decided that we're going to tilt towards that option 2, ultimately trying to maximize the possibility for our RESP account for our daughter to grow. Historically, the XEQT over the past several years since its inception has returned more than that 6%. So I think that 6% assumption is a very fair, kind of modest assumption. We're confident in this approach. We are trying to continue to build on that and not really overcomplicate it by trying to like really pick winning stocks. Easy investments through diversified, exchange traded funds that provide us exposure to stock market globally, including Canada, US, international and emerging markets. Let me know what your thoughts are. Have you considered investing in this in the stock market for your child through an RESP account here in Canada? If you are, let me know what approach you are taking. For us, as you saw from some of the video kind of captures, it is through a Questrade account. The main reason we decided to open up a Questrade account is that it allows us to do a self-directed account. In other words, we decide what we want to buy for our ESP account for our daughter. Whereas with Wealthsimple, currently they do not, at the time of making the video, they do not offer self-directed account. They only offer a managed account. In other words, you have to decide just on the risk tolerance, and they kind of invest it for multiple ETFs for you, and they charge a fee for that. Given that we are comfortable investing on our own based on the simple approach that I shared with you, we decided to opt for Questrade. Other than that, most of our investments are currently with Wealthsimple based on the other type of accounts that they offer. If you have not opened an account yet for yourself or for your child, let's say for an RESP account, feel free to use some of our referral links that are provided in the video description. You get some bonus by using those referral links. As always, thank you so much for watching this video on the end. I hope you found it beneficial, and hopefully it provided you some key nuggets that you could apply to your own household and your life. Thank you, and I hope to see you all next time.